What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And we got another card show this past weekend. This one was actually at Ken Griffey Jr.'s high school, so it was just outside of Cincinnati at the Moeller High School. And this is a predominantly vintage baseball show. There was a little bit of other stuff, but mostly vintage baseball and like some memorabilia. So lots of the dealers here had the type of stuff that I would typically be looking for, and I was able to find some pretty good stuff here. They only do this show once a year, and it's been running for a long time. I went last year, and that was my first time going, so I figured I'd come back because there's a good selection of vintage there. So I'll show you guys one of the bigger pickups from the weekend, a couple of those, and then we'll get on to some of the, the rest of the pickups throughout the later portion of the video. So one of the coolest, if not the coolest and the most unique pickup of the weekend was this 1972 Puerto Rican League sticker of Mike Schmidt. So yeah, that's a 1972 Mike Schmidt, a year before his traditional rookie card. Obviously, it's not an MLB card, but I did some reading up to try to figure out a little bit more about these. So they came in packs with no gum or anything in there, so you can get them in pretty nice grades. This one's a PSA 4. It's something that I had never really seen until the weekend prior in Strongsville, but I saw it again this weekend, and so I had to pick this one up. Pretty fitting being at an Ohio show. But some of the other key cards from the set, there's a Frank Robinson, there's a Satchel Paige, there's also a Goose Gossage, and that one's really cool. Another one that would be a year before his traditional rookie. There's also an Orlando Cepeda, and then there's some bigger, I think, photos, I believe, of the Roberto Clemente. I've never seen one of those in person, but just from the images I was looking at, those are pretty sweet. I definitely really like this one. I paid pretty strong just because of how rare it is, but I think I'll be able to do all right on it. So that's a super cool and unique set there. And then just one other pickup here before we get into everything else later in the video. E121 Walter Johnson. This one's an SGC 2.5. It's got great eye appeal, pretty strong centering, everything like that. This one is sold already. I just went and posted it on my Instagram just to kind of, because I liked it, and posted a picture of it showing these are some of the cooler cards I picked up from this past weekend. And someone messaged me and bought it within like 2 or 3 hours of me posting it. I didn't even post a price with it. Lots of these American caramel sets are super popular, and obviously Walter Johnson, he's going to be one of the more popular guys in those sets himself. Those were two of the bigger pickups for the weekend. Let's get back to the video and I'll show you guys the rest later. So like I mentioned, this show has a lot of memorabilia here. You can see lots of these autographs here that are bunch of autographed baseballs, you got autographed pictures, and just a whole bunch of miscellaneous stuff. JSA was there authenticating autographs. The show seemed a little slower than last year overall, and I think a big part of that was the Strongsville show the weekend before, which, by the way, I talked to a few of the dealers who were set up at that Strongsville show, and they were absolutely blown away by the attendance and the crowd there. Everyone I spoke to said they had a fantastic show, and even better than usual for an already incredible Strongsville show. So whether you guys were able to go or not, or just kind of watching videos and maybe thinking about going next year, definitely appreciated from all the people involved in the show. So like I mentioned, maybe a little bit slower than last year, but still a whole bunch going on, and had some signers there, so people were keeping busy throughout the show. We got 2 more show weekends here coming up over the next 2 weeks, and then probably a couple weeks off of shows after that, just not many in the area. So I have some setup footage of those, but let's go ahead and see what some of the other pickups were from this week. So let's go ahead and get going through some of these pickups here. These are mostly in kind of chronological order. So we'll start off with the 1913 National Game Lajoie. I've bought so many of these recently, so I won't spend too much time talking about it, but a nice looking Nap Lajoie playing card. Next up is another pre-war card, and that's this batter up Hack Wilson, a guy with not too many cards. He's got the Gaudy, he's got some, various cards from the 20s and 30s, but not too many. Not one that you're going to come across all that often. And I know there is some variations to this set, but I'm not too well versed on those. There's different colors. There's like a red, a sepia, a blue, and I've done a little bit of reading, but not enough to to be worth, telling anyone any type of information. We got some 28 Yinglings coming up. So 3 of these, the Ray Schalk. So Schalk, his stuff is popular for being one of the 1919 Black Sox players. So he's another one. I mean, anyone in this era really just doesn't have a ton of cards like Hack Wilson. And lots of people collect players from that 1919 Black Sox team. So they're always pretty popular. He himself, I believe, was considered clean and not one of the players that helped throw, but still one of the players on the team. And like I said, always very, very popular. Burley Grimes is another Hall of Famer from that set. Not the biggest name Hall of Famer, but still a pretty cool looking card. Like I said, all 3 of these were from the Yingling set where you could redeem them for some ice cream. I know there's some rarer backs that go along with it with the same pictures. I know Dave from Blue Jacket 66 just had a pretty cool video where he was talking about trying to get all the different backs of this set for his Babe Ruth run. So I'll try to throw a picture of that video up here. Go ahead and watch that. And he knows a lot more about that set, about most sets than I do. Next up on the list is this Rogers Hornsby, the biggest of these 3 from this Yingling set. Not in bad shape, but just a set that you don't come across too much. So if you can get some Hall of Famers from there, pretty cool. Not in bad shape, although I think he may have a smaller wrinkle up here that's not really showing too well, but still a Rogers Hornsby card. It's got some pretty good, respectable corners on it for just the age of it. Here's some strip cards, and these are W590s, so these are from the early 20s. 3 Hall of Famers here, Dave Bancroft, Rabbit Moranville, and Eddie Collins. I have a graded Eddie Collins, but I figured I would pick these ones up ungraded. Pretty cool small little set there. And this next one is pretty cool. It's one that is more recognizable, but this one's got some amazing corners and centering on it. So 52 Bowman Mignoso. This one looks fantastic. Looks like it has the smallest little wrinkle here, but I mean, man, just look at the corners, look at the color, look at the centering. So this card all around great shape, and a mini Mignoso rookie. If you don't want to go and get the 52 Tops one, this is another great Mignoso rookie you can go ahead and pick up. Moving on to a Richie Ashburn from the 54 Red Heart set. Super cool looking and nice sharp corners and color on him. Everyone knows about the Red Heart set. This is one of the hobby favorites. Lots of great looking cards in here. And there's some that you can find in pretty nice condition like this. So next is the 54 Tops Jackie Robinson. Always need more Jackie stuff, so that's something I always keep my eye out for at shows. And this one, from what I can tell, doesn't have any creasing. If it weren't for that top left corner, it'd be a little bit nicer, but still a great looking card. That one might end up getting graded here in a week or so if I can put together an order. I mean, he's got some nice color, no real breaks in the surface or anything. So that's a great looking card. And some mantles and some other 1960s stuff here popping up now. So you got a 1960 mantle here. This one I think I looked over pretty well at the show. I don't think it had any creasing, but one of Mantle's most popular cards, arguably his most popular from the 1960s. I'd probably say this and the 65 are the 2 that seem to get the most traction when I have them. A fantastic looking card nonetheless. Moving on to a 69 Tops Mantle, another one pretty popular Mantle being his last card. Other than the centering, this one is pretty nice all the way around, good corners and everything. Much like Jackie, another guy that I try to keep my eye out for, any of them that I see at any show, especially when you're at relatively smaller shows. Really got to be able to try to pick up any of those that people are willing to sell. 68 Nolan Ryan. Card does carry a big premium if it's centered, but obviously this one is not. It's got some centering issues for sure, but the corners are respectable, and for a Nolan Ryan rookie, you can sell these even in poor condition, but this one here is still pretty decent overall. Again, one with no creases or anything like that. And these 3 here were my dad at a different show this weekend, a much more smaller local show, and so he went and picked these 3 up for I believe $100 for the 3 while I was over in Ohio. Got the Campy, was obviously the biggest of the 3 as far as value wise. Card that I haven't had too many of, and he's one of the more popular cards in that set just because of how popular that picture is. It's always cool to get one of those Campies. A 54 Bowman Rizzuto is next. This one super sharp, Great looking card, not much else to say, just really sharp, nice condition. In a 52 Ted Kluszewski. Pretty good centering on it. Obviously not the sharpest corners you're ever gonna see, but pretty nice for a 52 tops. I guess he's not a Hall of Famer, but a near Hall of Famer. Especially in this area around Indiana, Ohio, he is very, very popular. So let's get on to some of these graded here. These ones, we got the 54 Ted Williams in a 3 miscut. I think, yeah, there's 2 of these. So there's the 3 miscut and then the SGC 2.5. Very similar looking cards condition-wise. One's off-center to the left, one's off-center to the right, but you know, both very similar, got good color and everything like that. Qualifiers, I know not everyone is a fan of, so he may end up having to be cracked out at some point, but still very popular, and another card that's on those list of ones that I love to find because it's so popular and so many people love it. A couple 56s up here. So the Maze in a whiteback 1.5. This one's pretty nice. It's got some creasing you might not be able to see here through the camera. It's picking it up a little bit, but this is the whiteback, so this is the rarer one. You know, it's quite a bit rarer than the grayback for guys like Mays and Mansell. So especially when I find the whitebacks, I always try to go after them. And this one for the grade for a 1.5, I think it looks pretty nice. You know, it's going to present pretty well if you have it on a wall display or something like that. And another one that looks pretty good for the grade. It's got some light wrinkling and creases here. 56 Koufax. The colors are a little dull, but overall not too bad. Got respectable corners, good everything all around. So at least those two 56s, I think, I don't know, maybe a little harsh on the grades. They do have some wrinkling, so you know, you could argue that's what they should be. And then we have the Mike Schmidt that I already went through with you guys a little bit earlier. Just gorgeous, gorgeous card. That one was super fun to get. And now after getting that, I want to go after some of the other cards in that set. The other ones that caught my eye, like the Gossage and the Satchel. Really any of the other star type guys, but yeah, definitely hooked a little bit on that set now. I want to try to find some more of those in the future. And this one here is a really weird one. So it's a 57 Topps checklist, and there's a few different checklists. This one apparently is extremely rare. I was not familiar with it until yesterday when I was at the show, and I managed to pick this one up. A dealer who doesn't really sell much online or on eBay or anything was just showing me. He said, you know, this is going to be a tough mover at a show unless you get the exact right guy coming up to your table. So he tossed it my way. I figured I'd take a shot on it, and they sell for a lot of money. This 4th and 5th series twin Bloney checklist, even ones that are marked sell for a very good amount. So I think before I went to list this, I think there was only 2 at all in any grade on eBay. Yeah, one of them was checked and one of them was not. So this is more of a shot in the dark type of card, but we'll see how that one ends up doing. A few more slabs here before we round it out. Got a Gil McDougall Red Heart. Picking these up like crazy anytime I get the opportunity. This is a set that, for one of the main reasons I picked these up, at least with the amount I sell online, is if you're scrolling through Facebook or you're scrolling through Twitter or whatever, Instagram, and you see a card like this, you see just the colors and they're so bright and they pop, it makes it almost impossible to not stop scrolling, which is, you know, a big thing for me just selling online. You got to have something that will make people stop scrolling through memes or news or whatever is popping up in their feed. And the Red Hearts are a great set for that with the bright red background, or if you have a mantle. And people are always going to stop for at least for half a second and kind of take a little bit of a closer look, which is exactly what I need for the amount I sell online. So next up is going to be a 72 Maze here in a PSA 8. This one's got not perfect centering, but pretty good centering, and obviously a newer label. It's a great, great looking card and a higher grade. Just 3 more cards here. So a 1914 Polo Grounds Eddie Collins. This is very similar as far as a rarity and demand that's kind of finally catching up a little bit. People seem to like these as well as the National Game set. So this is another very similar set. The images aren't quite as big, so they're all going to be a little bit smaller like this. And I'm not as big of a fan as some of the images, But some guys still have some cool looking cards, and it's still got a loaded checklist with Cobb and Wagner and a whole bunch of other guys. And being playing cards, you can get them in some high grades. So this is a 6. It's not an incredibly high grade, but you can get these even in 8s, 9s, and there is some 10s out there, which are mostly probably locked away in collections at this point, but still a cool set that you can go after. If you're condition sensitive collector, you can get something like this in at least, a 4, 5, 6, 7 range without completely breaking the bank like you would if you were to go for T206s or something like that. And the final card of the weekend, this Grover Alexander. I already have one of these, but I figured, getting an 8, I have a 5 currently. This one was a nice upgrade, and this will be the highest graded one on eBay. Apparently, I was the only one even listed in any condition at all on eBay with the SGC 5, so now I've got an 8 to throw up there for a little bit higher. The same story as the Collins. You can get these in higher grades. There are 9s and 10s, but I mean, once again, most of those that are 9s and 10s are going to be locked away in collections that they're not going to sell very often. Maybe every year, every couple years, you'll get one. So if you get something higher grade like this and at 8, you can somewhat, kind of name your price within reason. I mean, that's just a gorgeous looking card. The Grover Alexander rookie. Another one of those guys with just not too many cards out there. So those were some very fun pickups at Ken Griffey Jr.'s high school. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys have not subscribed already. Feel free to check out the eBay store in the description. Shoot me an email, which will also be in the description if you see anything on there, and I'll cut you a bit of a better deal. Or shoot me an email if you're ever looking to sell your collection or any pieces of it. But until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.